Hi, third graders. This is Miss Kopak. In this video, we are going to do a quick review on main idea. Remember, we had this poster that you see on the screen hanging in our classroom. Main idea is when we try to determine what a text is mostly about. It's not one word, it's not a topic, it's more like a sentence. It's the big thing the author is trying to tell us. So, in order to find the main idea, you kind of have to put a lot of puzzle pieces together. You need to think, what is the passage mostly about? Think about the title, think about the pictures, maybe even look at some of the sentences, especially at the beginning and the end, and really pay attention to words that are repeated a lot. All of those things can give us a big clue as to what the main idea is in a text. Remember earlier this year, we did some main idea practice like you see on the screen right now. We read short passages and we highlighted them when we found repeated words, and we looked at the title. This one was called Presidential Pets. And after we read it and thought about the information, we were able to put it all together into a main idea. This text, since it was called Presidential Pets and they kept mentioning presidents and the White House and pets, we were able to determine that the author was trying to tell us that there were many different pets at the White House. The main idea was not pets. The main idea was not White House. Again, we had to put it all together into an idea sentence. And then we had to prove it with details from the text. So we can prove that different pets were at the White House because President Wilson had sheep, and President Buchanan had a herd of elephants, and President Coolidge had a pet raccoon. Those are all details that help show that there were different pets at the White House. So earlier this week, you read this text in a video with me. It was called Christian the Lion. Go ahead and pause the video and reread this passage to yourself. When you're ready for the second page, pause the video and reread this passage to yourself. So, thinking about this entire text, I see photographs of lions. I see a title called Christian the Lion. I see headings, growing up, going wild, together again. And the author kept mentioning uh, lions and Africa and Christian. So I kind of need to put this all together into a main idea. What was the author trying to tell us about Christian the Lion? So my main idea is not Christian the Lion. What about Christian the Lion? Were they trying to tell us what Christian eats? Were they trying to tell us how big he is? I don't think so. In this passage, they talked about him growing up, and he had an unusual life. He lived with people as a pet. And then he was released into the wild, and his owners would visit him. So Christian the Lion was a lion that was a pet, but then he was released into the wild. So for my main idea, I am going to type here that the author is trying to tell us that Christian was a pet lion that was released into the wild. And then I need to prove that with some details from the text. So how can I prove that he was a pet lion? Well, when I go back into the text, it told me about some men named Ace and John that found him at a store and they bought him. So that's a detail. Ace and John bought Christian at a store. So there is a detail that helps prove that he was a pet. Another detail I can include is that In this section, remember they took him to Africa and a man named George helped introduce Christian to some other lions so that they could release him. So I can say for another detail that George helped them, we could say helped Christian meet other lions in the wild. That helps show that he was a pet that was released into the wild. And I could also maybe mention about how Ace and John would go back and visit Christian, and Christian would remember them, and he remembers them because he was their pet. So I think I'll put that as my last detail. Ace and Paul visited Christian, and he remembered them. Help show that that was their pet. All right, so I have my main idea. Again, it's not one word or two words, it's a sentence, and I have some details to help prove it. So you're going to do the same thing today. You're going to reread Foods Around the World, and you're going to want to decide what is the main idea that the author is trying to tell you about food. Your main idea is not food. Your main idea is not the world. It is a sentence. What does the author want you to know about foods? When you get into Seesaw, I do have some choices for you to pick from. So when you find the choice that is the main idea, you will type it up here, and then you're going to have to go back in the text and find some details to help prove your main idea. Thank you for joining me today, and I can't wait to read your main idea chart. See you later, alligators.